Hey everybody, welcome back to Shed Talks. It's getting fall time, things are cooling off, but what is heating up for sure is interest in Kona, interest in the 40th anniversary of Ironman World Championship coming up on October 13th, that great Saturday every October. I want to give you some predictions. I mean, everybody's thinking, who's going to do well? Who might win the race? Our record's going to fall? Will there be somebody new? One thing I want to point out, in the men's field, there are 14% of the athletes racing in the pros who are first-timers. For the women, that ratio is 30%. That means that 1 in 3 women has never raced at the Ironman World Championship before in Kona. Should be interesting. For sure there's going to be some surprises out of those newcomers when they show up. Maybe even do something like Lucy Charles did last year, getting second place. Even though it wasn't her first race in Kona, it was her first race as a pro. Anyway, today I'd like to just kind of give you my thoughts on who can win the men's race, who will at least be top 3 on the podium. Out of that 14% who've never raced it before, there's one guy that for sure I think has a chance to be top 3, even perhaps the champion, Javier Gomez. You've heard his name, ITU world champion, many-time Ironman 70.3 world champion. It's the first year that he's trained for Ironman. He came a couple years ago on a scouting mission just to check out the race, check out the conditions. He was a little concerned about it being hot. He said, I'm not that great in heat, but I'm going to work on it. I think he's worked on it. He feels comfortable in it now. This will be his first chance there to see what he can do at that distance on the Big Island. Javier Gomez, keep an eye on him. Somebody that I think races very similar to Javier is actually the reigning champion, Patrick Lange. He kind of sits back on the bike, does his pace, what he feels comfortable, doesn't cover a lot of surges. He knows that if he burns matches early, he's not going to have a great run later. His run obviously is his main weapon. 2 years ago he ran 2:39.45. Last year, 2017, he ran 2:39.59. That's 2 sub-40 marathons in 2 consecutive years. He doesn't have great seasons leading into Kona, but clearly he knows how to put it together on that day that's going to count most on the Big Island at the Ironman World Championship. I have to say, I have to give him the 2 thumbs up favorite. He broke the course record last year, 8:01. Oh my gosh, that's fast, right? Let's see what he can do this year. He and Javier may be kind of in tandem a lot of the way on the bike, the way they like to race races. They both sit back and then wait for the run. There's going to be some other great athletes out there. Certainly, you know, you have to take a look at David McNamee getting 3rd last year. He hasn't had a fantastic year this year, but he will be on the start line. There's one athlete that I want to talk about, though, and I'm going to give him the Wizard of Oz, this ain't Kansas prediction. Matt Hansen. He has the fastest Ironman race time. That time was a blistering 7:39.25. He did that at the North American Championships in Texas. But I think I'm going to give him the this ain't Kansas prediction for Kona. I think there's going to be a lot of times out there on the course where he's going, this ain't Texas. You know, the course in Texas, 2 miles short on the bike, dead flat. There was a period in the race where the marshals were actually drawn off the course, so there could have been drafting. I'm not saying that he did, but it's just going to be a very different race for Matt Hansen, even though he has the fastest official Ironman course time. Kona's coming up. There's some guys already over there training. Sebastian Kienle's been seen riding out there for the last couple of weeks. Lionel Sanders has been seen out there just as well. 3 weeks in Kona, 4 weeks in Kona, I don't know. One year I was there for 3 weeks before the Ironman. I thought that was perfect. By the time the race came, I was completely exhausted. I was toast. I had a terrible race. So even though those guys have chosen that to be their best way to get ready for October 13th, I'm not so sure that's a great idea. Sometimes it's best to train in your home turf, train somewhere warm. Who's done that? Tim O'Donnell, 5 weeks in Kansas. He's had, coming off of 2 consecutive Ironman 70.3 wins. Let's see what he can do. He could be the dark horse this year. He's kind of getting up there in age, you know, as far as a triathlete. This might be his last big chance to see what he can do. He's been third there. Let's see what he does on October 13th. Those are my predictions. I'm picking Patrick Lange, Javier Gomez to be first, second. The guy who's going to be missing, Jan Frodeno, two-time world champion, had just an incredible race at the Ironman 70.3 World Championships in South Africa a few weeks ago. Got home, found out he had a stress fracture in his hip. He's out. He's not even starting. So unfortunately, he won't be on the start line, but there is going to be no shortage of great racing. If Lionel Sanders has pulled himself together, you saw what he did last year. If he can up that a little bit more, watch out, everybody. Coming up soon, the women's predictions. Stay tuned. Mark Allen, Shed Talks.